So here we are, this is it. It's the Lexmoto LXR 125 SE that's finally been delivered, and I've finally been able to get my chance to have a look through it, find out all about it, and give it a test ride on the roads. This bike is something I've really been excited to see from Lexmoto because it's really challenging that 125cc sports bike market that's heavily congested and especially led by front runners of sort of Japanese manufacturers. And this really is putting in a stake to say Lexmoto are meaning business in this market. The bike itself is something I've been really excited to get on the road with because it just looks incredible. I mean, you can see for yourself that everything about this bike is screaming big bike. That's all except from the price, £2,499.99. But I'll get into that in a minute. Let's have a little look through around the bike. So as I said, with the 125cc bike market being quite congested now, Lexmoto have, as I say, been very clever with what they're doing here because this bike, this chassis and this frame is all pointing towards it being a bigger bike. Now, of course, it's only a 125cc, but this wouldn't look out of place with a bigger engine. Of course, in the pipeline is a 380cc engine that they're going to be putting right into this. Now, of course, big bikes have bigger wheels, and this does have a really meaty rear wheel and a nice front wheel as well. Of course, as you're looking down the front here, you can see the twin discs that are installed to the bike, and that's going to be using the combined braking system as well. So that means when you activate the rear brake, some of the front comes on as well, and then the front brake, it does activate the front, of course. So that's basically going to be adding quite a lot of big bike characteristics to this bike. Of course, I've got my full bike license now and I've spent some time on bigger bikes, and riding this, it feels like a bigger bike, which is strange to say because of course it's a smaller engine, but when you're riding it, especially at sort of town speeds, you really do feel set up as if you're on a bigger sports bike, and that's really impressive from Lexmoto. So the suspension on this bike, now the LXR standard only has telescopic suspension. This one, the LXR 125 SE, has upside down forks and they are incredible. Now, of course, I'm quite a big guy, and when I'm on the bike, it feels solid and the suspension doesn't feel like it's bottoming out, which is perfect. The bike itself is going to be quite reliant on the suspension on the road, especially in the UK with potholes everywhere. And I can't emphasize that enough, that this bike carries me absolutely fine. So if you're 17, you still got a bit of growing to do, this is going to be there for you and you're going to be comfortable on the bike. So you can't ask for any better on the 125 SE. Something else worth noting about this bike is the exhaust itself. Now, this is the standard exhaust that comes with the bike. It is going to be really nice and decent and loud. And something that was quite interesting to note here, when we were driving the bike around, Tim from the office, he said to us, like, is this a 125? Because it just doesn't sound like it. Of course, we started it up for him again, played it out, and he was literally saying to us that he can't believe this is actually a 125cc bike purely because of the way it sounds. So a quick word on the engine, which is something I'm sure everyone's going to be wanting to know about. This engine itself is made in the Zhongshan manufacturer in China. Now that's the same engine or variants of the same engine that are used on other bikes, but Lexmoto have really tuned this one for the LXR SE. Now, in terms of the performance of the engine, you're looking at about 12 brake horsepower, 9,500 revs per minute, and a touch over 9.5 Newton meters of torque at 6,500. So you've got a nice bit of torque at the lower end, and then the sort of peak brake horsepower towards the end of the rev range. This revs red line at about 11,000 RPM. So the last couple of bits really on the bike, I mean, before we go and take it out on the road and let you know what it's like to ride. The bike itself, of course, as I say, from brand new, £2,499.99, which on its own is amazing. But then you think on top of that, Lexmoto give you 2 years parts and labour warranty. So for the 2 years, you've got it. If you're 17 going to 19, you're sorted. And then you've also going to have a year's free breakdown cover provided through Lexmoto. So Lexmoto really are just saying that they're so confident with the parts, the ongoing sort of performance of the vehicle, that they are throwing in the breakdown, they're throwing in the parts and labour warranty, and that's really something you can't turn your nose up at. And for that price point, incredible. It really is going to be something that I think is going to be topping the charts for this year's bike sales in terms of 125cc, the sports bike market. Definitely one to look out for in the future. And in all honesty, it's something that I really love. I mean, this bike is just incredible. I'm sure when I'm out on the road, I'll be enjoying it even more. So let's just get to it, let's get on the road. Right, so from here, this is the LXR 125 SE from Lexmoto. It's a great looking bike, of course, as I've been discussing, so let's see how it rides. Now, of course, this bike itself is going to be something that a lot of younger riders, I'd imagine, will be looking at. 17, A1 legal, of course, CBT legal, learner legal, however you want to put it. You're absolutely fine riding this bike on your CBT with the L plates on. Now, of course, this bike itself, instantly I feel comfortable in the saddle. I mean, woo! It just feels very comfortable. You feel like you get, you know, in your seat positioning, your legs right underneath you. You are leaning forward a little bit. Of course, for me, quite tall, so I'm sitting quite upright, but I'm sure if you more Brett's persuasion in terms of height, sorry Brett, you might be leaning forward a bit more and a bit more tucked in. Of course, this does allow you to get tucked in if you do need to, which you will need to if you're looking to get into 70. But really what's great about this bike is when you're revving it up from first, second, third gear, it's really got that kick just to get you going. That torque is instantly available. And you can get up to speed quite nicely. There's a tunnel, you know what that means. Now, of course, because the bike is set up already to be quite a sports bike, you really can just push it as much as you can really on the back roads. Of course, I mentioned about the suspension in the BikeMatters HQ. It's worth noting here that the suspension, as I say, is very responsive. It keeps you in that prime sort of riding position. And it absorbs any bumps, any like that. That was quite a big pothole. I don't know if you saw the bounce on the camera, but I barely felt it. Upside down forks at the front, a single rear shock at the back. It does blindingly well. I mean, you can't ask for any more from what the price you pay is. Now, the price itself, £2,499, 99 pence on the road, or thereabouts. It's incredible. 2 years parts and labour warranty is standard. A year's breakdown cover as well, included and thrown in by Lexmoto, because they just have so much belief in their product, and that's brilliant to see. It really is. So we're just heading into town here, a little bit of town riding, just to really show you that it can do it all. Now we're gonna have a challenge video coming up as well, to see whether this can beat public transport, and you'll be surprised. You'll be very surprised. Now, of course, the looks speak for themselves. I won't speak too much about the looks because you can see it. You can see how good it looks on its own. So there's not really much I can say about that you can't see for yourself. In terms of the braking, responsive as anything, combined braking system on this bike. So you activate a bit of the rear, some of the front comes on as well. And that's great. I mean, the combined braking system is a Euro 4 regulation. It's something that's required on all new bikes, is at least minimum you've got a combined braking system if there is no ABS. Of course, that does help a lot because you activate that front brake because it's got the twin front discs. And when you activate the rear on its own, there is a little bit of bias there on the rear. But it does give you some front brake action as well, and that really does help. Bit of congestion on the roundabout. It's just so much fun to ride. You just feel so at ease on the bike. It just feels comfortable to ride, and I think if you are 17 and you're looking to get your first big bike on the road, you can't look past this bike at all. If you are looking at then taking further bike lessons and going for your full bike license or A2 license, this really will just do the job for you and just do you proud. In terms of the gearbox itself, I'm blown away because I've had no false neutrals, I've had no problems with it. It just always clicks into gear, nice and easy, does everything you want it to do, and that's just brilliant. I mean, some bikes I've ridden, you click it into a gear and it's actually neutral, and the bike doesn't know it's in neutral, but you know it is because it doesn't do anything. And that's the most annoying thing and the most frustrating thing. But of course, if you are looking at the bigger bikes, sometimes the gearbox will fail. It's not like a gearbox is going to be perfect on every bike, but this one's done me proud so far. I've ridden it for quite a bit. I mean, in regards to this being a Chinese bike, of course, that's instantly going to set a few people off. A few people, I'd imagine, are going to be thinking, yeah, but it's a Chinese bike and they're notoriously unreliable. But Lexmoto have taken massive strides with their bikes. They really are putting in the effort and putting in the R&D time to make sure that every bike that they put out is better than the last. Now, of course, this Lexmoto SE is the second. Of course, the previous and the standard, I guess, would be the LXR 125, which is slightly cheaper. So just pulled in here, just have a little quick word about the bike and just quickly have a look around it. Of course, you can see the trellis frame here, which I think is a really nice little touch on this sports bike. But that's besides the point, because I'm not going to talk about that for too long. Of course, looking at the dash here, you've got the speedometer, you've got your indicators here, and that stuff that I'll go through when I switch the bike on. But in terms of the sort of the manual parts of it, you've got your clutch here, nice and light. It really is. Clutch point, biting point, should I say, sorry, is quite far out, so you really are extending it, and then it's there. But that's quite nice because then when you've got it sort of half pulled in, you can still switch gears and do everything like that. Although it's recommended always to put it always fully in. In terms of switches, you've got your full high beam, low beam, little flashing light here, indicators left and right. Push in to cancel, little toot of the horn, which I'm not going to do just in case some horses come out and run for me. A kill switch, the light switches here as well, so of course full side lights and oof. And then the ignition, because of course it is an electronic ignition. Petrol tank here, which is 13.5 litres and seems to be doing the job absolutely fine. I mean, we filled this up once and topped it up a little bit since we got it, and it's been perfect. I mean, it's done around 100 miles a gallon, I think we should say. I mean, I haven't really been keeping an eye on the exact figures, but I know this get around 80 to 100 depending on how you're riding it, how heavy you are, weather conditions, if you need to be pinning it all the time, but that's a different story. Let's start it up. Doing this little checks there. So of course you might have seen the gear indicator, it goes 1 through 6 with 0 being the neutral. Of course it doesn't have 6 gears, there's only 5, so you know it's going to indicate 6 there unless you count neutral as the 6th gear. The neutral indicator is there with the lights, and then there's a little check engine light which goes off, you know, once it's done the engine check when you switch it on. Petrol gauge, odometer, and you've got the speed indicator there, which is really nice because it shows up nice and clear, so you don't have to be looking for any needle on the speedometer when you're riding along trying to keep at 30. Starts it up, and instantly you hear the exhaust, which sounds absolutely bang on. I love it. It's just for a standard exhaust, like, this is what comes with the bike. It sounds incredible, and I don't think you can really fault that at all. Lexmoto as a brand are one that you probably are going to hear about a bit more in the coming years, because they are bringing out a lot of new bikes and they're really pushing the boundaries with what they can produce. Of course, Lexmoto are a Chinese brand, and their engines provided by Zhongshan in China, of course, who have also provided bikes, as far as I'm aware, for the likes of other Chinese manufacturers, and there's a few other bikes that they do provide the engines for. And the engine itself doesn't miss a beat, absolutely fine, spot on, does the job happily. It does struggle when you get over 70, or an indicating 70, which is what I've managed to get it to, which is luckily the speed limit, so absolutely fine there. It does take a bit of time to get to 70 in all honesty, but if you're full tuck, it's not too bad. You still keep up with traffic, which is nice. So you might have had a Chinese bike before, or know someone that has, and sometimes the reliability and the parts are going to be a bit questionable. Obviously Lexmoto really do push the boundaries, and they spend a lot of time with their R&D team to make sure that every bike is going to be good standard and it's not going to let you down. I think it's worth mentioning here as well, huge thank you to Lexham who power BikeMatters. Of course, if you are looking at getting a 125 yourself, we are proud to say that Lexham are the 125cc specialists, and they're going to be able to provide you with a quote that hopefully is going to be the one saving you a bit of money. So yeah, this bike itself is only 167 kilograms. Now of course, to some that might seem like a lot, but when you're running this bike and you're riding it, it doesn't feel like it's got, you know, a heavy load behind it at all. It feels nice and light, nice and flickable around the twisties. It's just absolutely brilliant. I mean, as I've said, I can't go on enough about how much response this bike gives you and control, and that's something that really is going to boost your confidence on the bike, because you feel like you can do anything you need to with it. So guys, this has been the LXR 125 SE from Lexmoto. Of course, absolutely cracking bike, and I can't really praise it enough because I genuinely really like this bike. It's going to be a shame to see it go, to be honest. I mean, for only £2,499.99, with that warranty thrown in of 2 years and then 1 year of breakdown, you can't really go wrong. If you're looking at getting 125, I think you do well to look at this one, because Lexmoto really hit it out of the park with this SE, the special edition LXR. Of course, leave us a comment down below if you're looking at getting one of these, and if you do end up getting one, let us know how you get on with it. And yeah, I'll have a look at all of the comments down below and reply to as many as I can. I'll see you on the next one. But this has been Alex from BikeMatters. Cheers for watching. Subscribe, hit the notification bell to be notified of all of our latest content when it's coming out, because we've got some real good videos on the way. So yeah, cheers for watching. Bye bye.